What is your relationship like with your father?
When I was born, he was still in World War II. Didn't come into my life till I was 3 or 4 years old. Worked 2 jobs. Didn't have much tolerance for kids.
I talk to my dad almost twice a week, but I love my dad. He loves me.
Growing up, it was always something I lived my life for things that my dad wanted me to do.
How has that evolved though?
A few years, we weren't really communicating or talking. And so nowadays, he stops and listens to me.
My father was an alcoholic, hardly spoke to me, but never laid hands on me, never abused me. This is a man who had all the men in his wedding party die in Vietnam, lost most of his friends in Vietnam, and then he got sober when my mom died. I finally said to him, listen, I'm done with you. She's dead. We don't have anything left to talk about, you and I.
When 1 in 4 American homes are fatherless, it's clear that it's a growing problem. And so Gen Z especially are turning to others for guidance, and some are providing that, but some have capitalized.
For all my young boys out there, you guys want to know why I'm successful? I never took a girl seriously, ever.
So I want to explore the impact of the fatherlessness crisis, not only for the next generation, but for past generations as well. But is this crisis just a symptom of a larger problem?
There's an interesting theory called Donahue-Levitt theory. In the 1990s in America, New York was having a massive violent crime surge, and a lot of criminologists were terrified. And then it went up and up and up and up and up, and then it came drastically down against all expectations, and everyone was falling over themselves trying to explain why. 2 economists, Levitt and Donahue, came along and proposed this very controversial theory, and the answer is probably women winning reproductive rights 15, 20 years before. So instead of forcing a woman to have a child that she can't afford or doesn't want, that child has an increased likelihood of becoming a criminal later in life. And crime is caused by unwantedness, and abortion reduces unwantedness. Today, is violent crime also being caused by a lack of fatherlessness, a lack of committed fathers.
So if feeling unwanted is one cause for why people commit crime, having a present father can only help, especially when most crimes are committed by men. And so I wanted to ask the streets on what value a father has. What do you think a father brings to the table that a mother doesn't?
How to fix your car or something, or gardening outside. So we do a lot of the manual tasks together.
My dad was the breadwinner. He's very stable, logical.
Well, it's sort of like, what does a man bring to a relationship? What does a woman bring to the relationship? When you find someone to marry, look at the relationship she has with her father, because that's her role model, and that's the relationship she's going to have with you.
So if the person you choose is not just your spouse, but possibly a future mother or father, fatherlessness doesn't just impact crime, but how people show up in relationships. And so who better to ask than a divorce lawyer about this?
You could be an excellent parent and just not be good at being a spouse. You might be mismatched with your partner. A lot of people choose their romantic partners between the ages of 18 and 30. Or you may be the type that you grow apart and you become more, dissimilar. I think the more normal reason why fathers are minimized, unintentional second-order effects of the boom in divorce, the boom in how much people work, and the impact that has on their available time for their families. It's a lot of things all at once.
And so whether due to divorce or absence, it's clear husbands and fathers have distinct roles and impacts.
Stopping it there, and welcome to Mika Reacts and Reviews. We're reacting to things on the internet, same day, same shirt, different video. And today we're reacting to this YouTuber. He's doing some street interviews, and he's talking about the impact of fatherless homes and how fatherlessness is a growing epidemic. It's not, just the Black community anymore. The Black community has felt the effects of it a lot longer. Single motherhood, fatherless homes, and the growing acceptance of it, and sort of it's fine. It's fine for fathers not to be around. It's fine for children to be raised by their single mothers and not sort of taken care of, not talked about in a way where it will curtail that from constantly happening and this epidemic constantly growing. I personally don't think marriage is for everyone. I know conservatives are gonna hate me for that, but I don't think marriage is for everyone, and I think that's why people should wait a little longer to get married so they understand whether marriage is for them or not. So you're not having a child grow up in a broken home, so you're not having a child grow up in a miserable home. And so I'm all for people waiting to get married and have children, and I'm all for people not wanting to have children. Stop telling people to have children if they don't want to. My mom didn't want to have children. My mom only had children for my father, and then when they got a divorce, she got full custody out of spite, and then she abused the fuck out of us for years and years and years, severely so, because she hated us because she never wanted us. So stop telling people to have kids if they don't want to have kids. However, if you do want to have children, I do think having a stable home life is really important for a child, and I do think a 2-parent home is really important for a child, and I think marriage legally is best for the family. And I think the reason why a lot of people push for children when it comes to marriage is because a lot of times the children is what keeps the marriages together. Even if you are not compatible, you got married in your young 20s or 18, 19 back in the day when people got married very young, and you get older, your brain finished developing in your mid 20s, and you change, you evolve as a person, and maybe you don't like the person you're married to anymore, but you have children, and it's best for the children to stay together, and so you do. And so I think that's why a lot of conservatives, religious people, traditional people really push for children because it keeps people together for the sake of the children. I do think fathers are extremely important to children, whether you're a girl or a boy, just as important as the mother. I was not raised by my father. He left when I was, I don't know, too young to remember, probably before I was 6 years old. And he came back into my life when I was 18, and I have an amazing relationship with my dad today. I love my dad. And having my father in my life today, and a father that loves me and supports me and rocks with me, and I'm a daddy's girl all the way, it really does help you as a female navigate through life. Like, you put up with so much less bullshit when you have a good father in the home. A lot of even speaking of, like, what he was talking about, the sort of like substitute father industry that has popped up on the internet called the red pill community. A lot of times the girls they tell these guys to go after are fatherless women, because girls will never put up with guys like that if they have good fathers. So having a good father in a home really does help both men and women. People might say that it's more important for boys than it probably is, but it really does help both men and women. The thing that he talked about earlier, where it's like, well, crime is coming up, so we should basically stop forcing women to have children, because if they have children and poverty and a mother that can't really be around, and a mother that doesn't have a husband around and a father is not around, those kids are going to most likely grow up to be criminals. I actually agree with that. That's why I say stop telling people to have kids when they don't need to be having kids, because that is one of the main side effects of fatherlessness is higher crime. They most likely to drop out of school, they most likely to commit crime, they're most likely to end up in prison, they most likely to continue the cycle of poverty, they most likely to accept abusive relationships, they most likely to repeat the same behavior, they're most likely to have greater mental health issues. There's a lot of issues when it comes to fatherlessness, and this is why it's sad that society isn't tackling it in a different way around, and more of like trying to like make it just more socially acceptable. Again, it's not for everybody, but if you're going to have kids, I think it's really important for there to be a partner around, and I think that's on the man and the woman. The woman needs to pick better and protect her womb a lot more, and stop laying down with deadbeats because you knew he was a deadbeat before you had a baby and a child with him. And men need to start taking care of their kids. I know there's issue with divorce court. I know there's issue with family court. I know that. That's not the overall issue. Some men are literally just walking out of their kids' lives, and they need to take responsibility for the children that they made, and they need to be careful with the women they also sleep with. If you're going to sleep with someone who's going to strip your rights away from your children, I bet you if you look back, there were red flags about that person that said that that's the type of personality they had in the first place before you made children with that baby, before you made a baby with that person. And so there's responsibilities on all parts, but this is a really important conversation that needs to continue. I've been talking for a long time, so I'm going to go back into the video, but this is a really important topic.
Mothers with absent or distant husbands are not only at a higher risk of developing antenatal depression, but fatherless children are also at risk. Girls without fathers are 8 times more likely to have teenage pregnancies, while fatherless boys often exhibit aggression, delinquency, and an increased likelihood of committing a crime. And so oftentimes having a father or not can either set you ahead or set you behind. I wanted to focus on exploring what's exactly causing this crisis.
I think people need to stop having children. They want to have kids as an accessory. It's expensive, and there is a lot of pressure on the man to bring money to the table, and that could be another thing that scares a lot of men.
Lack of strong marriages, the family unit isn't as tight anymore.
And so when asking across generations, there's many reasons. But again, when 1 in 4 American homes are without fathers and Gen Z are turning to digital father figures, are they at least getting the guidance that they need? Would you say that the problems that Gen Z are currently experiencing are explained by the fatherlessness crisis?
I do feel like a lack of positive male role models, especially in the media, is an emerging and increasing problem. And we've gone from Mr. Rogers, now we have like Homer Simpson, Peter Griffin, basically clowns, poor reflection of masculinity, and fathers especially. I know in the UK the Advertising Standards Authority had to actually step in to ban adverts that routinely framed dads as incompetent.
So when this fatherlessness crisis seems like a symptom of a larger problem that's getting worse and worse, why aren't more people talking about it? Why do you think this topic of male issues have become so polarized? And what impact has that had on being able to hold discourse?
The left have failed them even more so than the right. The right has in some way at least tried to take hold of the conversation, largely through people like Andrew Tate, Fresh and Fit, and who I do not like. They are a symptom of a wider problem, which is how the left have sort of forgotten boys and men. And although there certainly are advantages to being a man, it's a bit more nuanced than that. Men and boys are increasingly conservative anyway, and women and girls are becoming increasingly liberal.
That's exactly right. With 44% of Gen Z women identifying as liberal compared to 25% of Gen Z men, this marks the largest gender gap since polling began in 1998. And the right? is capitalizing on that trend. Republican Party candidate Vivek Ramaswamy has supported the importance of the nuclear family and the two-parent household. And he has criticized American culture and government for pushing anti-family incentives. And many right-wing influencers and organizations are following suit. But if we're gonna look at it both sides, is this an attempt by the right to pander male voters, similar to how the left has targeted women according to George? Whatever be the case, clear that the issue is more complex with numerous factors rather than the simplistic perspectives of just blaming women.
Men are less often the primary physical parent who's a stay-at-home parent. Therefore, they couldn't, or they're not as good at it. I don't think that's even vaguely true. All the research shows that children have better outcomes when they have substantial, meaningful access to mothers and fathers.
I'm curious, what is something that you did as a father that your father didn't to your kids?
We did everything with our kids. There really wasn't much I did with my father. And in fairness to him, he was a workaholic.
Fatherhood, it holds a mirror up to you. If you saw somebody drop their wallet and no one would ever see it, a lot of people go, yeah, just stick it in my pocket then. And if you say to them, what would you tell your kid to do? That's the real test of their morality. We give up on ourselves a lot faster than we give up on our kids.
That's it, guys. My camera ran out of space as per usual, and I have a bus to catch. So I'm gonna make this quick. I think a lot of things that was said in the video is very true. Having to like ban adverts that make fathers look useless is a good thing, but it's a sad thing that it has to even been done. And I don't think this is a new thing. Fathers has been made to look like buffoons on media for a very long time. Just think about all the 90s, early 2000 comedies. A lot of the fathers on those TV shows were always made to look like buffoons, or they were like secretly evil or like secretly the bad guy or some shit like that. Anyway, guys, I think fathers are very important, just as important as the mother. I think two-parent homes are really important. I think stable homes are really important for children. If you are going to have children, make sure that is what's in place before you have them. Make family planning great again. Can we do that? Family planning, like plan the kids and stuff like that, or plan that this is going to happen. So let me like create a nest or a situation or environment, pick a human being to do this with properly. Can we make that sexy again? Thanks. And if you don't want to have kids, then do what you want. Like, you know, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I really think people really need to stop telling people to get married and have kids if that's not for them, because all that does is leave broken children in the world. That's it, guys. I agree with pretty much everything, if not everything that was said in this video. I got a bus to catch. I gotta go. I'm in a rush. I'm gonna end it. Please like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell to get notifications when I do upload. Oh, that really does help with the algorithm, guys. You can donate. Keeps me on this platform. You guys have an amazing, beautiful day. Love you, Dad.